going on, my fellow A-plusers? It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez, and we are back with another Ultraman Trigger review as we're going to be getting into episode number 2. We are on a high still from last week's episode, to be perfectly honest with you. Definitely had me excited to certainly come back for more this weekend, and I'm so glad that I did, because guys, episode 2 is even better than episode 1, and it really continues to just heighten my expectations for this series certainly going forward. I had so much fun watching this episode. I was really eager to get in front of this camera and go ahead and break it down for you guys and point out some of the things that really jumped out to me. Again, episode 1 certainly left me wanting more. Pleased with the very first premiere of this season, and hopefully a lot of other people are happy with the premiere. It wound up getting over 1.5 million views within a week, ladies and gentlemen. And episode 2 right now, one day in, 24 hours later, 600,000 views, to say the least. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that episode 2 gets as much return viewership and new viewership on top of episode 1, because if you ask me, guys, I was a big fan of episode 2. I absolutely love what they did, moving the story forward, introducing us to brand new characters in here, getting a taste of several different personalities, getting to see maybe some behind the scenes animosity between characters, along with just the amazing action sequences that we wind up getting here in this week's episode. And that's really where I want to go ahead and talk about and start off with, was just the action alone, guys. We got 2 battles, if I'm not mistaken, in this week's episode. One from the monster in Chimera, who winds up popping up, right? One of the things that we've learned is that over the past 6 years, Earth has been attacked by several monsters, and Chimera is certainly one of them, as he winds up coming onto the scene and causing a ton of destruction. And then we also wind up getting introduced to yet another giant of darkness that's woken up from its slumber by Chimera, who we just wind up seeing in last week's episode. This time it is in fact Darrgon, the Herculean fighter is what they refer to him as. The guy's all muscle and all brute, to say the least, and he's ready for a fight after he winds up waking up. And the action, the destruction in here is unlike anything that I've ever seen. First and foremost, amazing special effects just for the Guts Falcon that we got the opportunity to see flying in here and trying to assist in the fight for against Chimera. But just the idea of the levels of destruction that we got in this episode was unbelievable to me. To kind of see this city just decimated. One of the things that I absolutely love that this show particularly does is it really just adds like impact and power to all of its strikes. Like anytime we see Ultraman or a monster fall down or land, there's debris flying everywhere. I mean, there's got like, I don't know who comes up with the idea of like the little props on the set, like the cars or the telephone booth or whatever, to kind of go flying or making noises, right? Like car alarms go off and things like that whenever, you know, objects get moved. For me, it just delivers the full impact. Like you just feel the gravitas of this battle sort of taking place. Little things like Ultraman being kicked onto a building and being destroyed. Darrgon literally punched this guy through an entire building. They even had one of my coolest scenes in this episode was seeing Darrgon and Ultraman both go through a building together, and it was a really cool sort of point of view shot as you see them, and then the camera pulls back through the apartment to the other side of the building, and then you just see the bodies crashing through the building. So smooth and so well handled. I am kind of curious as to like how many sets does an Ultraman season kind of go through. One, they look gigantic. I mean, some of the camera angles and the points of view that we see, like there was a great shot of like overhead of the two fighting, but then when it pulls out, you really get to see just the enormity of like the cityscape that they're fighting within. And I'm just wondering how big these set pieces are that they honestly design. If they're easily able to like prop some of the buildings back up, put some of the pieces together, or are we talking like new set constructions each episode? I have no idea, but the levels of action and destruction is unlike anything that I've seen when it comes to like tokusatsu, to certainly say the least. So really impressive stuff. We even wind up getting not only a daytime fight, a nighttime fight, and an underwater fight in here. I mean, talk about just showing how like flexible you are to film anything in any particular location. We just literally got Mars last week, and now we got 3 different time period, or not 2 different times during the day and 1 underwater, just a whole different, completely different terrain, and it looked marvelous each and every way. You know, when I watch Super Sentai, I'm a sucker for night fights, and I'm a sucker for sunset battles also. So the fact that episode 2 of Ultraman gets me a night fight, let alone underwater, and looking pretty good, I'm impressed. I truly am impressed. And I do love this style of tokusatsu. It feels different. It's not quite your same feeling when you're watching a Super Sentai and these big old mechas fighting in and out. The fact that there is athleticism, humanoid bodies, if you will, going to town or just facing off against each other. Yeah, I would hate to be a construction company in this city. Whoever's the mayor or the governor of the city that's got to like repair everybody's buildings, that's got to suck, because Ultraman and them certainly do not mind at all. But give me the destruction, guys. This is like Man of Steel level stuff I'm talking about here. I'm really big fan of what they were able to do. So again, with special effects, with practical effects especially, they do a remarkable job. So the action alone really jumped out at me. The other aspect of this episode that really jumped out at me is, in fact, the character Aikido, who is, in fact, sort of the, what do they refer to him as? The lead technician, if you will. He's actually the one that wind up creating the Nurse Desi, which is their anti-monster battleship that they're certainly on. So Aikido is, in fact, the lead technician that's designed not only the Nurse Desi, but he also designed the spark lens. Now, Aikido is the young man that we wind up seeing at the very end of episode 1. If you guys recall, there was a news report on Earth. We went to Shizuma's mansion, and we saw not only Yuna, but we also saw Aikido there. Now, Yuna refers to Shizuma, or Chairman Shizuma, as father when she talks to Aikido in episode 1. So I was immediately under the impression that Aikido was maybe Chairman Shizuma's son. That doesn't seem to necessarily be the case. I thought maybe Yuna and Aikido were in fact brothers and sisters. You know, there is a comment that Aikido makes in here saying that he wanted to become the giant of light in order to protect the people that he loves, or protect the people around him. I think he even mentions the idea of protecting Yuna specifically. That sounds like a very brotherly sort of thing, or maybe an I'm in love with her, Yuna type of thing. I don't know what to take from it. Like, they don't have the same last name. So I'm not expecting, I don't want to believe that they are in fact brothers and sisters, or that Aikido is Shizuma's son. If he is his son, please go ahead and let me know, because I am basing it based off of just the last name, the way that they've kind of talked to each other here in episode 2. So I don't know if he's Shizuma's son, Yuna's brother, or if he's just a lead technician that works with Guts and they're just all kind of close type of thing. You know what I mean? The fact that we see Shizuma going to Aikido to ask him for help when it comes to some of the projects and weaponry and things like that he's currently working on. So I am trying to figure out what the relationship is between all of them. They could just be all co-workers for the most part. But the Aikido stuff really jumped out at me, because you could clearly tell from episode 1 that there was some animosity, that this guy was not happy that there was an Ultraman on the scene, especially when he's holding like a Ultraman Trigger sort of component. You definitely got the vibes that he certainly wanted to be one himself. And so it is in fact revealed to us in here that he intended to eventually be the Giant of Light. The fact that Shizuma comes to him with a replica, or I should say a ruin from the ancient ruins, which is in fact the spark lens, and asks him to create a replica of it, right? A more modern one that'll certainly work for now. And he certainly does that. And I guess under the assumption of building that, he thought he would certainly be the one to go ahead and grasp that power. But it is in fact Kengo, our main character, who now wields that ability. And I really love the animosity that we wind up getting in this episode, the cold shoulder, if you will. Even Kengo calls him out on it, like, why are you scowling at me so much, type of thing. Well, we can see why, right? When somebody else wanted to be in that position that you are, I can see the idea of the cold shoulder and having an attitude with somebody. But I thought the moment that we got here between Kengo and Akito, after Kengo winds up emerging from his first battle, kind of battered and bruised, right? I love the idea that Akito kind of runs him down and kind of scolds him a little bit. One at the idea of, clearly knowing that he's Ultraman, even though it's been pushed that, hey, you need to keep a secret identity sort of thing. If there is anybody that at least recognizes and knows that he's in fact Ultraman Trigger, it's definitely Akito. So I love the moment that they have here, because this almost feels like I don't want to say a coming to Jesus type of moment, but a realization as to who Kengo is for Akito, right? I think Akito maybe had a certain mindset of who Kengo was certainly going to be, somebody that's not worthy of this particular power, you know what I mean? But getting to hear from his own mouth, hearing Kengo's reasoning for wanting to be Ultraman Trigger, the future that he's certainly fighting for, right? When you clearly get to see that this guy has a very kind heart, a very selfless sort of personality to him, how can you argue with him? You know what I mean? And it almost feels like there's a struggle of emotions for Akito while he's listening to all this. A part of him probably doesn't want to hear any of it. The other part of him is clearly listening and thinking to himself, God, maybe this is the right guy for the job. And I think the fact that even later in the episode you get somebody like a Shizuma who really wants Akito to give Kengo some guidance, right? And be supportive of him despite all of this. I think those two conversations really went a long way for Akito, or at least I'm certainly hoping for, right? The fact that he does give Kengo the power up almost gives him the okay, like we're on much better terms now, go kick this monster's ass sort of mentality. I kind of dig that. I kind of dig the full circle that Akito kind of comes after struggling with his own personal feelings and then kind of pushing those aside and understanding that, this guy clearly does have a great future in mind that he wants for these people. And if I can help him achieve that future, it's similar to the same future that I definitely want. Why not be supportive of it? So we'll see if Akito eventually, if he turns his opinion, or if his feelings change as the season progresses, but clearly it seems as though he's decided to go ahead and be on the right side of Kengo and certainly helping him out. So really great moments, really great awkward moments, great animosity level, great emotions, but I love how everything turned out. And especially when it comes to Yuna, talking about awkward, the idea that Kengo was just mesmerized by her, not necessarily beauty wise, but he immediately recognizes Yuna, even though he's never met her before, from the mysterious female that we saw in the very first episode in all white with the blue eyes. That is in fact Yuna, or at least looks exactly like her, even though they haven't met, which the chairman solidifies for us here. There is clearly a mystery behind Yuna, because Yuna even references Ultraman Trigger's name in this episode, and she has no idea who that is at all. And even the fact that Akito asks her, or was like nearby when she mentioned it, even asked her, like, who are you referring to? Do you know this person's name? Who's Ultraman Trigger? And she has no idea that she even just said it right there. So I am kind of curious what's going on with Yuna here. Again, adding to the mystery of this character. She clearly doesn't know that maybe she's being embodied by some other spirit, some other power is kind of taking over or speaking through her, and she's fully not aware whenever those particular moments happen. So who's to say that she hasn't been appearing to Kengo in the first episode and is not even fully aware that this is happening to her body, right? Just completely along for the joyride, if you will. So I'm kind of curious if Yuna is technically somebody else. Has Chairman Shizuma adopted her and she's not his real daughter? Maybe he knows that there's a power within her. I don't know, but clearly Yuna doesn't know what's certainly going on, and she even said Ultraman Trigger and has no idea she even said that in the first place. It's really not until towards the end of the episode that the chairman actually shares the name of this giant of light, Ultraman Trigger, with the entire rest of the team. So there's definitely something going on with Yuna, and I'm really eager to find out exactly what that is. I'm kind of curious to know if you guys have any theories yourself, but it definitely feels like there's some type of power that's embodying her, speaking through her. Maybe that's been kept away and shut away for years, and maybe we'll get some answers as that goes along. And last but not least, one of the other things that jumped out at me in this episode, getting the opportunity to finally meet the Guts Select team, right? We do see Kengo arriving on Earth since he went ahead and decided to go ahead and take this opportunity to be Ultraman, clearly saying farewell to his mom. Great little sentimental moment to go ahead and open up this episode. But getting to meet the team was fantastic to me. Couple of really great personalities that jumped out to me. We got Teshin, who is in fact the pilot. Loving this dude's energy level, to be honest with you. It's just through the roof. Clearly doesn't believe in personal bubbles. Homeboy doesn't mind just grabbing you, bringing you close, right? Big old smile on his face, cracking jokes. I love the energy that he winds up representing. And he's got a fixation with working out. Homeboy's literally always flexing. But Teshin is in fact the pilot. Really going to be eager to see how he fits into the remainder of this series. We also wind up having, I knew I stupid autocorrect. Hold on one second here, guys, because I had the name for the remote pilot for the Guts Falcon. Ultraman Trigger cast. And her last name is Nanase. Let me see if I can find out what her full name is here. Give me one moment. I had it written down, but then all of a sudden, you know what happens when you do autocorrect, it just immediately changes it for you. Hamari Nanase is her name. The autocorrect gave me hilarious Nanase. That's not her name. So Hamari Nanase. She is in fact the Guts Falcon pilot, and my god, okay, talk about a cutie, man. Talk about a cutie. Just a little adjustment of the glasses. Absolutely love it. She clearly seems more reserved than somebody like a Teshin, to say the least. And clearly the idea of like, don't piss her off. Don't make her mad. Maybe she certainly has a little bit of an attitude. I think her, along with Marluru, who is in fact the alien on board, both of them clearly have attitudes, or at least Hamari's a little bit more reserved to herself. But I love just a little jab that the two wind up giving, like, yeah, and she's got a bit of an attitude, look who's talking type of mentality, right? So, but I really love seeing Hamari control the Guts Falcon. She clearly gets hyped. Amazing pilot, also being able to navigate that, navigate the Guts Falcon. And again, special effects for the Guts Falcon looks incredible. Just seeing it fly through the air, it gives me Macross or Robotech sort of vibes when I watch it, and I'm here for it. So not only is Hamari clearly just easy on the eyes, but she's an amazing pilot as well. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing her play a more pivotal role as the season progresses. We just talked about Marluru a little bit, the alien with an attitude problem for sure. The actress that played Luca Milfi from Gokaiger is in fact doing her voice, and you can clearly see it also. I'm wondering if she's the suit actor as well. Like, I'm wondering if she's in the costume along with the big ass helmet. But she doesn't like being called cute at all, and that feels very much like Luca Milfi to me. Like, she would punch you if you called her cute or slap you type of thing. She's got a great attitude about her. So Marluru, and the one thing I also love about Marluru is because she's an alien on board, alien Metron is what she refers to herself as. She seems to be the one that's like the most informative about all the monsters that we have attacking. So it was pretty cool to kind of see her break down the alien and Chimera that wind up popping up on Earth. It was pretty cool to kind of see her give all the intel in regards to what they were certainly working with. And then last but not least, we've got Seiya, who is in fact the captain of this ship. I mean, he seems like he's a pretty legit guy also. So some really great personalities on here. Again, I think if you ask me, Hamari absolutely gorgeous, very easy on the eyes. She definitely stands out to me, along with Marluru and Tishin and his, or Teshin, I should say, and his big ass smile and energy. Great stuff here, and getting the opportunity to meet the Gut Select team. But overall, guys, again, I really love what I wind up seeing in here. It feels like they're putting their best foot forward, and I honestly can't wait till episode number 3 as well. So, guys, listen, I want to know what you guys thought. What stood out to you about Ultraman Trigger episode 2? Is there anything in particular that I might have missed, whether that have been character moments, storyline details that you want to further go ahead and discuss? Let them be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, and we'll definitely go ahead and continue along with that discussion until next week's episode, guys. But thank you very much for certainly joining us. We will be back next week, so certainly look out for that. But in the meantime, do me a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. Talk to you later. Bye.